In this session, we'll look at tips and tricks for all 4 sections of the PTE. The idea is that a few days before the exam, you can go through this session and once again, you refresh the concepts that we have discussed, the suggestions, the recommendations that we made to you, the tips, tricks, the advice that we gave when we were studying the sections and the question types in detail, and also be aware of the common mistakes that people make and how to avoid them. So we will look at each section one by one, and all the suggestions that we have for you will for that particular section, we'll look at them in a consolidated manner. Let's begin with speaking. The very first thing, rehearse before speaking. Applicable to read aloud. So use the time before microphone opens up. Any time that you have, whether in this question type, read aloud, or in any other question type, you should be aware of any time that's given to you. And the time that is given to you is for a specific purpose. It's not just to wait there and to just look around and then start speaking. You have to have a strategy. Every second that's given to you is for a reason and you have to use it. So the time that is given before the microphone opens up is for rehearsing. Focus on difficult words or unknown words. Next, divide and conquer. So if it's a larger text, you should be able to chunk it into smaller pieces. If you see a big paragraph on your screen and you immediately start reading it, first of all, there's a good chance you can make a mistake if you try to read it all in one go. And second, you will not sound natural because you must pause somewhere, you must take a note of the full stop, and that will happen only when you chunk a large text into smaller pieces. So break it at commas and full stops. And if it's a long sentence and there are no commas or in the long sentence, then at a logical point. For example, the first part of the sentence is about one concept and the second part is about something related. Then in between, there's a logical point. So you can break it there. And along with the logical points, sometimes it's indicated, the logical points are indicated by conjunctions and tells you that we are combining two things. Because tells you that now we are explaining the reason. Those are the logical points. If you don't have even that, then just approximately somewhere in the middle, try to take a quick pause. That will make you sound more natural, more real. Next, you have to pick some words for emphasis. So you have to show that you are in command. Identify words that seem important. When you see adjective, adverbs, words that carry some key information in the text, those are the words where you have to emphasis. So by emphasis, I mean you have to put some stress on them. So an extra microsecond or a few tiny seconds on that word. But don't do this too much. Okay, not too many. Some words are important only because you're picking a few of them. If you pick everything, then nothing is important. So not too many, just 4 or 5 words. If it's a medium-sized text, if it's shorter text, then maybe just 2 or 3 words. Raise and lower your voice. So you have to sound natural. Your goal should be that you don't sound like a robot. So don't be nervous, don't be in a hurry. You have to raise and lower your voice in all question types in the speaking section, and that will make you sound natural. So when you are asking questions, when you are showing contrast between different parts of a sentence, when you are starting a sentence, when you are ending a sentence, those are the places where you raise or lower your voice. And in the speaking masterclass, we looked at all the basic rules that we can follow to identify where to raise and lower your tone or your voice. So if you need, go back to that speaking masterclass and go through that list again. Don't get stuck. This is very important in the speaking section. Be it read aloud, describe image or whatever. Just correct yourself and move on. That is the best. If you know the correct word, what mistake you have made, then you should immediately correct it and move on to the next word. Otherwise, if it's a difficult word, say something in its place, or you can just skip and go on to the next word. But if you get stuck, you will waste a few seconds, you lose time, and it will also decrease your confidence. And whatever happens, in all spoken responses, you have to speak with full confidence. Even if you think that you don't know the right answer or it's a very difficult question, still you should try to pretend that you are confident, and that will reflect in your voice. Don't wait too much. Microphone can shut down after 3 or 4 seconds. Don't pause and think. Okay, there's in either of these speaking questions, once you start speaking, then you don't have time to pause and think. There is time to think and prepare before the microphone opens up, but not once you start speaking. And again, you have to sound confident, but if you start thinking too much, if you pause too much, if you don't talk, if you pause after every 2, 3 words, then you won't come across as confident. Practice the word list. We have been saying this since the beginning, that download the academic word list and also the topic-wise word lists, understand the meaning, the usage in sentences, and learn proper pronunciation. So just knowing the word is not enough. If I ask you, what's the meaning of this word, you should be able to tell. If I ask you, can you explain this word with the help of a few sample sentences, you should be able to do that. And when you speak about that word, you should pronounce that word properly. So all of that you can learn. This will make a difference to your reading as well as to your speaking and also in your writing, because you will know more academic words. So more appropriate words you will know. So overall, this will have an impact. Next, find the right pace for you. In the speaking section, it's important. Fluency is important and faster is good as a general rule of thumb, but not always. Because sometimes if you are not fluent, but then you try to speak too fast, then you'll end up mispronouncing the words or missing some words. You might get stuck at one word and that will impact whatever you are speaking. You have to balance it with pronunciation as well. If you're sometimes speaking too fast, then, or when you speak too slow, it impacts your pronunciation as well. What's important is that you understand your level. You record yourself a few times, listen, get help of a friend or a tutor, and then understand how fast or at what pace I should speak. And once you understand that, then stick to that level, the right pace for you. Visualize to remember. This is important in the retell lecture question. You take notes, but you also visualize. Draw a picture in your mind. It's almost like completing a puzzle. So you hear a few words, that is one part of the puzzle. Then you hear some more information, you put another piece of the puzzle. And once the lecture has ended, the goal should be that you have a complete picture now. And then you can look at that picture and use it in your response. Just as you will look at your notes, you can also look at your mental picture. Say anything. If the question is very difficult, just say anything. That is better than saying nothing. We have, for wherever appropriate, we have had some sessions on templates for describe image, retell lecture, etc. So always try to say something. And in those sessions, you will find some templates where even if you have been able to capture just 1 or 2 words from what you have heard, you put them and you will still be able to give a good response. So say anything around whatever you understand, or you can just use some words from the question, but still say something. Memorize the structures, memorize the templates. If nothing else, just speak, just record the template as you memorize it. Always speak loudly. Don't hesitate in the exam. Even if there are people around you, it's fine. It's good to be mindful of others. But here you have to sit straight. You have to speak loud and clear and make sure that you position the microphone correctly. It shouldn't be too close to your lips. All right? At an appropriate distance from your lips. And when you're practicing before you go into the exam, you can experiment. Make sure that you have practiced with the position of the microphone. If possible, get one of those headphones with an attached microphone so you know where is the right position for the microphone. Listen to academic audio only. So a month before the exam, whatever free time you have, go to YouTube or go to some website, a university website, and listen to their lectures that they have online. Use all that time to practice, but choose only academic audio. Or you can also listen to the samples from your practice tests that you have in your course. Or as I said, university podcasts, the seminars, etc. All of them are good. Don't listen to slang, funny videos, some useless, random material on YouTube. It's not the time to further influence, learn slang. It's the time to learn academic English. So listen to academic audio only. Prepare some standard sentences. We have already provided some templates for you. And those templates, they have a few parts that are standard. For example, how you begin a response, how you end a response, how you make a conclusion, how you introduce a point, and when you are giving an example, all those things. So those words, those parts of the sentences, prepare them in advance. Also prepare a few sentences that you can put anywhere if nothing else comes to your mind. And then practice. You don't just memorize them, practice them. Practice how to speak them. Okay, at least let's say there's a template, it gives you 70% or 80% of the words already of the full response. So at least those 80% you can deliver with correct pronunciation, and good fluency if you have practiced in advance. Don't get lost in the details. Pay attention to the key points, whether it is a lecture or an image. You have to pay attention to the key points. Too much information, if it's not important on the image or if there are any examples that are not relevant in the lecture, ignore them. Your goal is to pay attention to key points. You just need 2-3 key points, and that will complete your answer. All similar data points don't need to be covered. In the describe image, when we were practicing, when we were looking at the templates as well, if, for example, there's a bar graph and 5 or 6 bars, they are at the same level or a similar level, then you can club them together. You don't need to repeat each one after another. Focus on the highest, focus on the lowest, and then tell that rest of them, they are at the same level. Always take notes. Note key points and notes plus the visualization, as I said earlier, that will help you to give a great response, which will get you full marks. For small questions like repeat sentence and answer short question, you should not take notes. There's no time to take notes, and it's much better that you try to understand the audio. In the notes, when an important word comes, a signpost word, something which seems to carry more information, or where it looks like that the speaker is putting emphasis on or repeating again and again, those are the words. Pay attention to those words, and that is when you should be noting down something. Make a good introduction. Very important for describe image and retell lecture. And the introduction sentence, it's easy to form. Most of it is standard what you will say in the introduction, whether it's a describe image or the lecture. In the image, if you are able to understand the type of image, you can identify that, I'm sure. And then just by looking at what's the title of the image or what's the theme, that's all the information that you need. So use that to make a good introduction. As I just said, type and the theme, that is enough. Listen to a variety of academic texts. Now, something we earlier discussed, that you should only be listening to academic audio. That's right. And also different types of. So if one day you listen to a podcast by a professor in economics, another day try to listen to something from a professor in, let's say, geography, or somebody who's talking of global warming, things like that. So different topics. If one day you're listening to an American professor, the next day try to listen to an Australian professor or somebody from England. So that will expose you to different accents, different structures, different themes. All those different topics, they will have different kind of vocabulary. So that will be very good practice for you. And once again, stay away from informal stuff like funny YouTube videos or podcasts. Don't complicate. Stick to what you practiced. The purpose of this goal is, all your preparation is that you're not just learning, but you're also practicing, putting that into practice. So if you have learned a method, if you have done 10 questions, 20 questions, following that method in your practice, then stands to reason that in the exam, you should stick with that and use the information that you have. Don't overcomplicate. Whatever you can understand from the image, from the lecture, or if it's an answer short question, whatever comes to your mind, keep it simple. All right. Follow the method and then keep it simple. Just try to deliver. Practice a rapid fire round. So this helps you with short questions. It helps you with repeat sentence. So ask a friend to ask you questions, short questions, one after another without a pause. So that will help you. It will develop your focus. Because that's one of the problems that I've noticed. Since there's a large number of questions, these short question types, people, the first 2 questions, they answered it well, but they don't put the same amount of effort or focus into the remaining questions. You have to stay focused throughout the test and also maintain your enthusiasm. Speak with good energy. Each and every question, answer it with full enthusiasm and full energy. You can also aim for bonus points. Where do you get the bonus points? In images and in lectures. So speak about what is not obvious. If somebody is just talking about what's written in front of you on the image on the screen, then yeah, they will get points for that. But if you can draw a conclusion, if you can understand a relationship between different parts of the image or lecture that was not explicitly stated, you can talk about a trend that you understand by looking at the image, then that kind of a forecast or a meaningful conclusion, that is considered highly in PTE, and that gets you a higher score. Let's look at the writing section now. The very first thing and very important is that you should learn a proper structure. If you don't already know what an academic essay is all about, then you should spend some time learning what that structure is. In our course, we obviously have covered, and all the sample responses, they are as per the structure that is expected in PTE Academic. A lot of people, what they do is they treat an essay writing question as if it's a reasoning question or it's a problem solving question. So, for example, if the essay is about the pros and cons of life in big cities, then they'll just list down 10 points, 5 points about what's good about living in the city, and 4 or 5 points about what's bad. But they list it as if as bullet points. They don't pay any attention to punctuation, grammar. They don't structure those points into paragraphs or sentences. There's no clear introduction or conclusion. So even though the content is there and they have answered the question, but they have just given a logical answer, sort of a general knowledge answer. But what we want a writing answer. PTE wants to know, can you write? Can you write in a formal manner? Can you write in an academic manner? Can you link one sentence with another? Can you use grammar and vocabulary in your writing properly? Those things, they come across only when you use a proper structure, when you write in a proper structure. So that's why the structure is important. We recommend 4 paragraphs. First introduction, then two main paragraphs in which you cover your key points, and then a conclusion paragraph. Always begin with introduction and end with a proper conclusion. Use connecting words. We have a separate session just dedicated to these linking words or connecting words. They connect sentences to each other and they also connect paragraphs with each other. So basically, it's like showing the flow, how one sentence leads to another or how one paragraph leads to another. That's why you need to use these connecting words depending upon what's the kind of relationship that you are trying to show. Are you trying to show a contrast between the points in one paragraph and the next? Is the first sentence a cause and the next sentence an effect? Is the first sentence point 1 and the second sentence point 2? Depending upon the situation and the relationship, you will find the right connecting word. So you should use those connecting words. Avoid repetition. Don't repeat the same point again and again. This is a mistake many people make. And also don't repeat the same words. If you think that you find that you are repeating the same words, try to think of synonyms. Try to rephrase, try to paraphrase, say it in another way, all right? But avoid repetition. And also, when you're writing, plan your essays in advance. Before you fully start writing, the first 2-3 minutes, give it to planning. This is what I'm going to write in the first paragraph, main paragraph. These are the points I'm going to cover in the next paragraph. That way, you won't be repeating the same things again and again. You won't be jumping here and there. So there should be a clear flow. Be formal and academic. Don't use any casual language. Include academic references. So that means even if you have to give some example, so better to give the example of research done at Harvard University than to say, I heard on my local radio station. So use those academic references like universities, newspapers, research groups, government surveys, things like that. And don't use any casual language. Next, develop all points. So this is similar to, goes hand in hand with the earlier point that you don't repeat. What some people do in one paragraph, they write one point, then in the next sentence, immediately they go to the next point. And then by the time they come to the next paragraph, that is the second paragraph of the main content, then they get stuck. They say, oh, I've run out of all points. The problem is you have not run out of all points. You have not developed all points properly. So instead of putting all ideas and all the points in one short sentence and all of them in one paragraph, first introduce the idea, the point, then explain it a bit more in the second sentence. In the third sentence, you can give an example to support it. If you do that, you will have enough to write about. So idea, explain it, give an example, and don't bring up the same idea later. So this is the same thing. Don't repeat the points. Don't make it too personal. Don't use personal pronouns too much. Unless they say, the essay specifically says use examples from your own experience. Don't say, I did this, we did this. Use ideas that make more sense, not necessarily your own. So if let's say there's a topic on which you have to write about advantages and disadvantages, but let's say you don't have any strong opinion, you're okay with the advantages, you also know some disadvantages of that thing, then use the ideas that are easy, that come, that you can support, that you can write about, even if they are not your own. Let's say it's easier to write about the advantages of something then just make up advantages. Even if you think that you are strongly against something, but it's easier to write 2 points in favor and 2 points against it rather than 4 points in favor, then go with that. So this is not personal, all right? You can also make up things if required. So no one is going to go and check the source of the example that you give. So if you refer to Harvard University, no one's going to go look up online to see if that survey was actually done, if that research was actually done. So if needed, you can make up things as long as within reason, within the academic context related to the topic, you can do it. So it's not about you, it's all about putting together a good response. Finally, you should leave some time for review in which check for the logic, grammar, spellings, structure, the word limit. Now coming to the summaries, don't write long summaries because first of all, if you're writing too much, then there's a good chance that you are writing unnecessary information. And the key points, they sort of just get lost in too much detail. And most of us, if we try to write very long summaries, especially in writing, where you can only write one sentence, most of us will end up making some grammatical mistake. So you can avoid that by writing only 30 to 40 words. So 30-35 words is good enough. And try to be precise, simple sentence, just do that. Don't think it's not like copying and pasting. You don't have to cover everything and then combine it together. So just what I was saying, don't copy and paste. This exercise, summary writing, is not about combining sentences. You can rephrase the sentences, but only focus on what's important. And best is to write the key point in a simple manner, in your own way. Simple is good. It helps you to avoid mistakes. Also, if you try to make it too complex, then you will end up making some kind of an error. Identify your level and then write as per your level. If you are confident writing a simple sentence, practice simple sentences and just write simple sentences in summaries, simple language. I shouldn't say simple language, I should just say simple. Yeah, I shouldn't say simple sentences, I should just say simple language. If, however, you are confident, then yeah, go ahead, use more difficult words, use more complex sentence structures. Let's look at the reading section now. First of all, very important, you should learn to skim. Skim, that is to get an idea of the key theme, what the whole text is about, and to understand the structure of the text quickly. The two reasons why you skim: first, to get an overall idea of what it is about, and then to understand which part of the text deals with what, where I will find examples, where I will find definitions, how it is structured. That you will be able to do quickly if you learn to skim. And another reading technique that you should learn is learn to scan. That is to find specific information. And when you use this in combination with skimming, your reading comprehension, that is your multiple choice type of questions, they become very easy and straightforward. Read the question first, always, especially in the multiple choice. Don't just go to the text and start reading the text. First, read the question and the options, because once you have read the question, then you know what you are looking for in the text. So you know what kind of information you need to answer a question. So you can put in more focused effort. You can be more focused in your reading effort after that. Check all the options. Don't jump to conclusions. Make sure that you have validated each and every option before you submit the question. So this is very important for blanks, and for multiple choice options, you should check all the options. Unless, often what happens is you look at one option and you think this looks very good and you want to select it and submit it immediately. But then if you had later on, if you had looked at the other options as well, probably the one of the other options is much better. So check all options, that's important. Know how much time to spend. In the reading section, you only have an overall time limit. It is up to you to decide how much time you are going to spend on a reorder question, how much time you are going to spend on a fill in the blanks, on a multiple choice. And that is why your practice is so important. It's not just about learning how to answer, it's also about developing your strategy, figuring out how much time you need to spend. By the time you go for the exam, you would have spent maybe a couple of weeks or 4 weeks or even more in practice. So an output of that practice should be your time strategy, that how much time I'm going to spend on each question. Make smart guesses. Use logic to make guesses. Illogical option can never be correct. So we'll look at it again. Whether it is fill in the blank or anything else, you can use logic to make a guess. And even if a word in the fill in the blanks, for example, it looks correct grammatically, but common sense, it doesn't make sense. For example, it's something about horses flying. Then you know that horses will not fly. So you will not have that kind of questions in the exam. Logic is very important. Grammatical correctness is important. And along with that, it should also have the correct meaning. Logic is also important. Answer based only on what is in the text, especially related to the multiple choice type of questions. Don't make any assumptions. Don't use your common sense or what you read something somewhere. Just focus your attention on what the text is about and then answer the question based upon that. The next one, first find the lead sentence, and this is important in reorder sentences, reorder paragraphs. Find the lead sentence. It's also the simplest because it stands on its own. So if you can find that and then you focus on arranging in pairs. So basically divide and conquer. Find the lead first, which is an independent sentence. It should not have any dependency on anything else. Once you have found that, it will become easier to find the next sentence. And then you can focus on arranging the pairs in the correct order. 2 sentences, 2 paragraphs at a time. This is what I was saying, arrange in pairs. So continue to divide and conquer. Don't get daunted by looking at all the paragraphs. If you try to arrange all 4 paragraphs at the same time, you will end up confused. Go step by step. Look for a link between paragraphs. So paragraphs, they can be random when a paragraph follows another paragraph, and especially in the kind of text that come in PTE, there has to be a reason why a paragraph is coming next. So try to find that reason, find that link. It can be logical or it can be grammatical. So it can be a pronoun referring to a noun in the previous paragraph, or the second paragraph can be the explanation of a concept that was introduced in the first paragraph. So there has to be a link, and it can be logical or grammatical. Try to find that. A good tip, examples, they'll only come after somebody has introduced a concept. Details, extra explanations, they will come after something has been mentioned. A specific time period, an event in a very narrow time period will follow a broader time period. So keep that in mind. And especially examples, if there's a paragraph where they're describing something as an example of a concept, then you know that it can't be the first paragraph. It can't come in the beginning. So keep them for subsequent sentences or subsequent paragraphs. Eliminate options, substitute and check one by one. Rule out illogical or grammatically incorrect options. So this is useful in fill in the blanks. Use your grammar to shortlist what is the type of part of speech, what is the type of word that will go in that blank. And then out of that shortlist, you can put it one by one in a blank and then see which is logical, which is illogical, which makes sense. So one by one, you can eliminate the options. And in the end, if you have a smaller number of options left, then it becomes much easier to find the right choice. Let's look at the listening section now. Read before audio starts. As I said earlier, whatever time is given to you, even if it is 7 seconds before an audio begins, is there for a reason. So first you have to get ready to listen, and then whatever is there in front of you on the screen. If it's a multiple choice question, then you will have the question and you will have the options. If it is a highlight incorrect or a fill in the blanks, then you will have the transcript in front of you. So whatever it is, read it so that you are in the right frame of mind. So you can start to anticipate what you might be about to listen. Next, read as you listen. Of course, in the transcript questions, you will be following the audio in the fill in the blanks and in highlight incorrect, but also in the multiple choice. You can eliminate options while you are listening. So keep an eye there as well. It will help you to narrow your options. Type or write in fill in the blanks especially, and in questions like write from dictation, decide what approach you are going to take. You can either first write down the note, write down something in a rough form, and then once the audio ends, you can quickly type it, whether it is the blank or write for dictation answer, or you can type it directly. When you are practicing before the exam, that is when you have to figure out which is the right method for you, which is more suitable for you. Always listen to understand. Don't just try to catch the keywords from the audio, which a lot of people do. Also try to understand the concepts. So focus on the phrases, not just on words. Focus on understanding the words. Look for a theme. Okay? Take smart notes. That means only write important stuff. So if somebody is repeating the same thing again and again, or once a concept has been mentioned, and then in the next two sentences, they are just extra information, then there's no need to write that down. You only need to write down the important stuff and a few things. The rest you can remember and you can also visualize. So this is not a dictation. Don't try to write down everything. Otherwise, you will never be able to understand fully. And review in the end. So let's say it's a fill in the blanks question and you were typing as you were listening. And by the time the audio ends, you also end up typing all the fill in the blanks. But since you were trying to follow the audio, there's a good chance that you might have made some mistake. So try to capture those spelling mistakes. How you can do that by reviewing in the end. And also look for logic. If you think you have typed something but it doesn't make sense, then maybe there's a grammatical mistake or some other the logic is not correct. So look for that. The biggest tip is about what to do with all of these tips and tricks that we have discussed. Merely memorizing them, keeping them in mind is not enough. You have to take action on them. You have to apply these when you practice. So by the time you go into the exam, these are automatic for you. These become a part of your behavior. So whatever we have discussed, pay attention to that, think about it, and apply these things. Whichever of these are most relevant to your situation, apply those and follow them during your practice.